Sir, live আছে।
Okay, thank you. And a very good evening to all of you in the study circle number 32. I extend my warm welcome being a convener of the study circle of Universal Briefing. I request our anchor, about whom I'd like to say a few words, to kindly take over the session and carry it over accordingly. But before that, let me introduce our anchor of today's session. She is Rupali Rupasmita Pradhan, who has completed her Masters of Library Information Science from Utkal University, Bhubaneswar, and earned her doctorate MPhil from Jadavpur University, and she is presently pursuing her doctoral research in the Department of Library Information Science, Jadavpur University. She has presented so many papers in different national and international journals, and she is very prolific, very dynamic, and one of the very active members of our Universal Briefing. I request Rupali to kindly anchor the session accordingly. Rupali, what is it? Please.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the introduction and thank you for the opportunity. A very good evening to all. Now we are going to start our 32 study circle universal briefing. I would like to introduce our speaker for this session is Dr. Kaustuv Chakrabarti. He is presently served as the Librarian of Sister Nibedita Government of General Degree College for Girls, Kolkata. Now I would like to introduce our president for this session is Dr. Gayatri Paul. Dr. Paul is presently working as the documentation superintendent at Indian Association for the Cultivation of Science, Kolkata. She had completed her B.A.C. in chemistry from University of Kolkata. She also had completed her B.L.I.S. and M.L.I.S. from Jadavpur University and was awarded PhD by Jadavpur University. She is a lifetime member of DLA and I.A.C.S. Her area of interest is scientometrics and bibliometrics. I am requesting Gayatri ma'am to take over the session. Over to you, ma'am. Hello?
Hello.
Hello?
Thank you, Rupali. May I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, yes.
Okay. A very good evening to all. At first, I convey my deep gratitude to our beloved teacher and President of Universal Briefing, Professor Udayan Bhattacharya, for giving me this opportunity. It is a great honor and privilege to preside this study circle on users' need in the libraries of central government institutes working for the empowerment of differently able persons study. The topic is very noble as we focus on the empowerment of differently able persons, ensuring equal access to information and resources. Now, I would like to introduce our esteemed speaker, Dr. Kaustuv Chakrabarti. Dr. Kaustuv Chakrabarti is presently working as a librarian in Sister Nibedita Government General Degree College for Girls, Kolkata. Prior to that, he had also served as contractual whole-time teacher in the Department of Library and Information Studies in Maharani Kashishwari College. Also, he worked as a library trainee in NILD Kolkata. Dr. Chakrabarti has attended various seminars, conferences, workshops. He has more than 25 papers in various seminar proceedings as well as reputed journals. It is my humble request to Dr. Chakrabarti to start your lecture.
Yeah. Am I audible?
Yes,
Yes, yes, yes.
Are my slides visible, ma'am?
yes,
Yes, yes. Please continue.
Okay. So, good evening, respected President of the 32nd Study Circle, Dr. Gayatri Pal, ma'am, respected convener Dr. Obik Rai sir, respected chairperson Dr. Atanu Das sir, honorable president of the Universal Briefing, Professor Udayan Bhattacharya sir, and his dynamic team of Universal Briefing, as well as the distinguished learned audience present here. So, at the outset, I would like to thank the whole team of Universal Briefing to share my views on the topic entitled Users Need in the Libraries of Central Government Institutes Working for the Empowerment of Persons with Disabilities, a study. So, uh, this is my PhD topic. So, I will share my experience about how this work had been carried out in the pre-COVID period as well as the post-COVID period. As we see from my title of my PhD thesis, there are three main components. One is the user's need, that is how the users need, it means the reflections of the users have been portrayed here. Another one is the libraries of the central government institutes. I have been taken the those institutes which are under Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment, and another one is the empowerment of the persons with disabilities. So that is the PWDs, what Prime Minister of India had termed as the Dibyangan. So that there are three major areas or the major components which I look into my PhD thesis. Now, coming back to my topic selection, why I have chosen this topic, because I will share my stories, I will share my slides rather than I will share my stories here. So actually, ma'am has introduced me when I was I worked as a library trainee at NILD Kolkata. So therefore, one day I was working as a circulation desk in NILD Kolkata, NILD library. Suddenly, a junior physiotherapist came and demanded me for a book, which was needed for the treatment of a patient. But the NILD library did not subscribe this book, so we could not provide the book to the user, that is the junior physiotherapist. So next day when I asked him how he could get the book or how he get the do the treatment of the patient, he told me that he got this help from the SB Nittal library where his friend was working. So the idea pop up in my mind that why this type of, there has been much work done on the for the betterment how the persons with disabilities they can use the libraries, how they can access the libraries, but the persons who are teaching them, we need to look for their information requirement, how they can use the information from the library, whether they are using the sufficient information, whether they are getting the proper resources. So that's my main motto for doing this type of study. And another thing that we in I.A.S. field, we have seen the work of Professor Ratna Bandyopadhyay, ma'am, Professor Arjun Dasgupta, as well as other important personalities who have done this research on this field, but no work has been carried out in this regard, that how the persons who are treating them, the persons who are assessing them, what are the basic needs for using the library, what are the basic information required. So that's why I look at this factor. And another one is one thing when I surveyed those institutes, one thing I find that the users of these medical libraries, the national level institutes, they are very much curious to use the library. They were very much curious to use the print resources as well as the digital resources. So they suggested some areas like interlibrary loans, so which I'll do will come later on. So it is known to all that the users are the main component of the library information system, and the term user is used in different perspective. And if you see from the special library, if you see from the college library, the needs are different, the requirements are different. So there are many programs taken by the government organizations as well as the non-government organization for the betterment of the persons with disabilities. So that they can gain the better access to the life, they can gain equal opportunities, their basic needs are to be fulfilled, their socio-economic rehabilitation are to be made appropriate and proper. So to understand and to cater this need, the Ministry of Social Justice had established a number of medical institutes, and it is very important to mention here that libraries of those institutes are to be found very crucial place in this regard. So they have to play a pivotal role for the empowerment of differently people in the promotion of the medical education as well as the healthcare program for the empowerment of differently able persons. So as we know, there have been various laws for the persons with disabilities, like we have Persons with Disabilities Act 1995, we have Right to Persons with Disability as RPWD Act 2016. All this act basically focused on the areas, that is basically how they are doing better for their services, for their well-being, for their mental pieces. So they basically we need to find that the discussions on the empowerment of differently able persons are going on, and all these are related with the development of the needs of the persons with disabilities. But how the persons who are treating them are to be assessed in the context of their information requirement for the education purpose as well as training purpose, as well as the curation of the differently able persons in different kinds. So in summing up those points, why I am taking this topic, that the information requirement is for those users, that is users who are serving the, like medical practitioners, students, research scholars who are diagnosing them, who are treating them. So how their information and requirement is made for the libraries, that is my main motto. So this is my background for selection of topic. So the for the better treatment of the differently able persons, the information is very much required for the users of the medical institutes, and to provide information to them, the role of the medical institute of this library is not negligible. So I have taken these three research questions here. One is the whether the libraries are able to satisfy the needs of the users of those institutes for the empowerment of persons with disability. That means in these 7 or 8 institute, they have a library information center, but no coordination among the regional center as well as the main center. Second one is the whether the library services are sufficient enough to provide requisite information to the users, whether the services provided by those libraries are very much enough to provide the required information. Has there any necessity of the libraries to be a part of the medical institutes working for the empowerment of persons with disabilities? And how these library services are being used by the user. So this is the three or four research questions I had taken during my research work. And statement of problem is basically to satisfy the needs of the users, how the library service are being used by the user. Hence, there lies the necessity of studying the concerned area. And to answer the above mentioned question, the statement of research problem is described as users' need in the libraries of central government institutes working for the empowerment of differently able persons, a study. Now, I have taken two hypotheses here. One is that there is a significant difference between male and female respondents in graduation, that is UG, and beyond graduation level with regard to their information use pattern of print and electronic documentary sources in the library. All these institutes are providing undergraduate courses as well as postgraduate courses. Some institutions are offering MPhil or PhD courses. So they are less in number. So I have and mainly focusing on the graduation and beyond graduation level. Beyond graduation level means that PG and PG and MPhil or the PhD, etc. And another one is the requirements of the users of graduation and beyond graduation level are same in nature. Yeah,
Stop.
yeah.
Your slide is not moving. This is standstill. স্লাইড প্রপারলি ইস্যু হচ্ছে না আর কি। ওকে, নাও দিস ইজ ওয়ার্কিং।
Now it is fine, ma'am.
Okay, ma'am. Okay. Now you carry on.
Okay, so the requirements of the users of graduation and beyond graduation level are same in nature, and they are very much satisfied with the needs of the document, infrastructure, facilities, and the services provided by the libraries. Now, objectives of my study are: number one is that to depict the scenario of the libraries of national level institute. That means the what are the facilities, what are the collection of the libraries, as well as the services provided by the libraries. That has been depicted here. Number two is that to identify the nature and types of information requirement of the users, and we know that users nature, users information requirement varies from one person to one person, so that has been depicted here. Number three is to find out the nature of use of in regard to the requirement of informal sources as well as the interpersonal sources. So as a librarian, we have to understand that we can use the formal source as well as the informal sources. Now, we all librarians are college librarians are going for the NAC, and as well as the NAC is also focusing for the formal source as well as the informal sources. That means your library is to be visible as how much it should be visible in the social media platform, how much you should interact with the users of your libraries. So that is meant by the informal as well as the interpersonal sources. Number four is to assess the frequency of use in regard to the requirement of the print and electronic documents. So how the users of this library, they can use the print resources or the electronic documents. That means the frequency, that means once in a week or either in once in a month, or they can never use. So that has been depicted here. Another one is that to measure the satisfaction level of the user. So that is very much important. Whatever services as a library information science professionals we are providing, that is for the users. That the main motto is to provide service to our user, whether they are how much you, if your library has sufficient services but the users cannot access it, that means the main motto of the library is not is very much denied here. So number five is to measure the satisfaction level of the users in regard to the requirement of the information used by the user and the services provided by the libraries. Now, why this work is very much important, that is the importance of the study and very socially relevant. So basically in this research work, an attempt was basically done to identify the needs of the users and the satisfaction level of those users who are basically part of the library system. That means who are using the library in a formal way or is a indirect manner. So under the different institutes under the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment, Government of India, and basically basic aim and the objectives of the parent institutes is that to empower the persons with disabilities by the acquaintance with the modern and updated knowledge related to the treatment centric part of the medical education, and that can be gained through the accessibility of the proper reading materials. Whether if they cannot find or if they cannot access the current literature based on their study, that there should be a problem. So in short, it may be said that the needs of the users from the libraries of this institute are very much crucial. Two is the role and the activities of the libraries can be traced out, assessed and developed, which can be part of the indirect role-making process. Why I am saying that? That means whether the persons who are treating them, whether they are if they are getting the more current journal or the various journals related to their study, whether physiotherapy or the occupational therapy or the hearing impaired, so they can gain knowledge and they can get do the better treatment for the differently able people. So that's why I am saying that they can be a part of the indirect role making process for the rehabilitation of the persons with disability and for the betterment of the society. So, as we all know, whenever we are doing conducting a research, or whenever we are writing for any article or any journal, article in any journal or any seminar proceedings, review of related literature is a very important step. So, basically, a number of literature was searched for both from the primary sources as well as the journal articles, thesis, seminars, conference proceedings, website information, and 120 literatures under each subdivision. Five subdivisions were done accordingly. Those subdivided areas are information needs of the users in the libraries, especially for the disabled persons. Another one is the information services provided by the libraries, especially for the persons with disabilities. Social justice, education, and the rights for the persons with disabilities. Social and psychological situation caused for disabilities. Treatment and measures for the improvement of the disabilities. So the reviews have been presented chronologically under each subdivided area of the study. Also, the reviews have been presented on the basis of chronological arrangement. I have taken prepared two chapters related to my PhD thesis. One is the disability aspects and its nature in the context of user study, and another chapter also is prepared related to the information need and its nature in the context of user study. Now, if we consider the some of the reviews, I find that, well, some of the reviews in the sub point A is that we can find here the Rayani, Professor Bandopatay, Panigrahi, Dodamoni. These are the experts which we can look for here. And if we talk about the also some of the reviews, I can say current reviews I can mention here, like Acquired tried to find out the role of gatekeeping in the manifestation of information seeking behavior of Spanish speakers in the United States. A literature on health seeking behavior, Global Polio Surveillance Action Plan, was published by WHO in the year 2022. Now, if we talk about my second review of literature, there are some experts like Tiari, Nimai Chandra Shaha, then we have Ghoshal and Das. So these are the areas which I cannot discuss all the literature here due to the time constraint. So I can say only my observation here. So on the basis of literature published in the national as well as international level, it is found that a number of works were dealt with the topics related to the information needs, information behavior of the different types of users, including different level users, as well as the different types of services of the libraries to them on the basis of different aspects. So with regard to the different level persons, most of the literature basically focused on their information needs and information use behavior. So what already you are all are aware, what do you mean by information use and what do you mean by information use behavior. So I cannot discuss on two term. So moreover, the literature related to the rights and the privileges of the differently able persons, social and psychological situation caused for disabilities and their treatment, and the curative measures for the rehabilitation and empowerment were also available. The needs of the users of the libraries in the medical institute under the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment were to be looked, and on the basis of the given research problem, a number of primary and secondary literature was searched and reviewed. So only few papers have been attempted to cover the institutions on different aspects of rehabilitation and treatment purposes. So as such, there were no comprehensive work related to the research problem. So hence, based on my reviews of related literature, it can be said that the inference can be drawn here that existing research problem is found different from others, and to fill the research gap, the present study was undertaken to identify the needs of the users in relation to their. I can focus on the 3 point here. One is the information requirement, another one is the information use, and third one is the satisfaction level from the facilities and the services provided by the libraries of these medical institutes. Now, you can see the my scope and coverage here, so the slides are bit hazy here, so I can say in details that the institutes which I covered as follows. That is the National Institute for the Empowerment of the Persons with Visual Disabilities, NIPVD, Dehradun. Ali Jafar Jung National Institute of Speech and Hearing Disabilities, Mumbai. National Institute for Empowerment of Persons with Intellectual Disabilities, Secunderabad. Swami Vivekananda National Institute of Rehabilitation Training and Research, SB Nittar, Kotok. National Institute for Empowerment of Persons with Multiple Disabilities, NIPMD, Chennai. National Institute for Locomotor Disabilities, NILD, Kolkata. Indian Sign Language and Research Training Center, New Delhi. Pandit Dindayal Upadhyay National Institute for Physical Disabilities, New Delhi. And I had not covered up the National Institute of Mental Health Rehabilitation Center, that is the which is in the Sheor, that is Madhya Pradesh, because when I conducted my study, the institute was established in the year 2020, and they are planning to establish the library at that time. So basically, I had also the non-government organization and the institutes under the state government are not covered in this study. Basically, the users of the libraries include here that the research scholars, medical practitioners, medical students, teachers, as well as the head of the institutes, along with libraries, were also covered. Yes. Now, coming back to my methodology part, that is the very important structure. Use the survey method. Like we have used, I had used the techniques like questionnaire, observation, and interview, and personal conversation was covered. So basically, you know that in case of survey based research work, it is very much difficult to get the response that or the responses from the user, because they are all time busy with their classes. Sometimes they are very much reluctant to fill up the data. So basically, the first of all, I can say here that that this is the medical institute, so that I have to move the number of times during the COVID period as well as after the pre-COVID period. So I took the puja vacation in the year 2024, covering the third times survey in this institute, and in the COVID time went to there, but those COVID period, those institutes were open. So that's why I could manage to manage to get the data, as well as to do the research in a very appropriate manner, and to conduct the study in a very quick manner. So that basically the questions were distributed in a personally, in some cases electronic way. I have prepared the two sets of questionnaire here. One is for the users, and another one is the librarians. I had done the pilot survey in the NILT, and to detect the problem, and the necessary questions were incorporated, and the really irrelevant questions are omitted. So after that, the data collection was started for the targeted population, that is the users of this libraries of this institute working for the empowerment of persons with disability, and sampling strategy was taken to cover the total population. So basically, what I covered here, that at all time one class of each course. Suppose what are the courses being taught here in NILD? We have Bachelor of Physiotherapy, Bachelor of Occupational Therapy, then we have Bachelor of Prosthetic Orthotics, we have MPO, we have MPT, that is the master's courses. In SB Nittar, all these courses are being taught. And in Indian Sign Language Research Training Center, there are two courses: diploma course in sign language interpretation, as well as the diploma course for rehabilitation psychology. Then we have courses for BASLP, that is the Bachelor in Audiology and Speech Hearing, MSc for Speech Audiology, MSc in Intellectual Disabilities, B.Ed for Intellectual Disabilities, M.Ed for Intellectual Disabilities. So these are the various areas or the various courses which have been taught in those central government institutes. So I have taken the one class of each course in the institutes to collect the data, and students for the I have taken in two categories. One is the graduation level and another one is the post graduation levels to get the desired result. So already I had said that I have to move to all the student number of times, but sometimes I did not get my desired result due to the absence of the respondents from the classes for their personal reason, holidays. So basically I was failed to cover all the students of a batch in a course of the institute. Suppose uh, some students are not present, some student was busy with the clinic. So what I found that in this institute in the morning time, so students were busy with their clinics, and in the afternoon they were busy with their classes, or they are busy with their research activities. So that's why a researcher had to stay in the hostel or either in the guest house of those institute to collect the data. And one thing I want to share, that they cooperated in a very efficient manner. So I am thankful to all the respondents for giving me giving their valuable time and giving their data on the in a proper manner. So for determination of sample size, the formula given by Morgan was considered here. We find that the number of respondents as sample size is greater than the desired number. So basically the requirement level and the satisfaction level have been measured by on the basis of 5-point Likert scale. And we have been clubbed the responses in a positive scale as well as a negative scale was done to the general findings. I have done the testing of hypothesis by the two types of statistical test here. One is the Mann-Whitney U test, which was applied here to compare two independent population, that is the UGPG, to determine whether they are different in regard to their overall use of information sources. And basically the satisfaction level was measured by the chi-square test in regard to their requirement of documents, infrastructural facilities, and the services provided by the libraries. Now coming to the data analysis part and the findings part, because I am not covering, not show any tables here, because because I had covered the 87 tables, and it will show if I will show the each tables, then it will kill the time for discussion. So already my thesis has been uploaded in the Shodhganga. You can see from that Shodhganga. So I can I would like to prefer on discussion part. So basically the data were collected from the respondent based on the objectives of the study. So basically what are my objectives of study? Already I discussed, that is the purpose of use, purpose of seeking information, requirement of the different types of information sources, frequency of use of print and non-print documents, and the satisfaction levels of the users with those documents, and the satisfactions with level of the users of their of their infrastructure facilities, infrastructures provided by the libraries, facilities and the services provided by the libraries. So now I can come to the key findings, and after that I will say my interpretation of key finding based on my 5 objectives, so which you can easily understand what I tried to focus on that on this area. So it is observed that out of total targeted population of 1252, total number of respondents were basically approaches 711, and I got the response from the 620, and I have categorized the tables in the various sub areas. So the number of male and female respondents you will see from here 2020 220 as well as the 397 respectively. So also I have covered the percentage of the respondents in the UG level and in the beyond bachelor level here, and the MPhil scholar. Also I have taken the response from the faculties. So basically the study covers the respondents from the different subjects, and which the major female portions were from the special education and the OT, that is occupational therapy, and the major male respondents were from the special education, followed by the speech language pathology, physiotherapy, prosthetics, orthotics, and OT. And the early intervention course were only the 0.16%. So the male respondent belonging to the psychology course was 0.65. So there was no respondent found from the nursing course. Hello? Hello?
হ্যাঁ বলো কন্টিনিউ করো
So there were no respondents. Basically, I can found from the nursing courses as well as the vocational training courses. So if we so table 6.1 to 6.5 basically focus on the number of targeted population, number of respondents I covered, number of subjects which are being taught here, number of areas where the scholars of those institutes responded. Now table 6.7 focus on the respondents the number of respondents which visited the institutional libraries, and you can find from my slide that the highest percentage of respondents visited the institutional library several times in a week is 33.06%. By 25.6% of the respondents visited the library several times in a week. So these are the areas which I covered in the table 6.7. So 6.6. Now if we talk about the table 6.7, here we can see that highest percentage of respondents, the number of duration of time had been covered here. So that is the 30 minutes to 2 hours, or 2 hours to 4 hours, or 6 hours and beyond in the library. I had categorized in this subfields. So table 6.8 focuses on the purposes of the using the institutional library. So the multiple responses are considered here. It is seen that 86.13% used library for the lending purpose. So 59.84% went to the library for the reading magazine and newspapers. 89.3% respondent used the library to consult the reference books on general and subject areas. So these are the areas which I covered in this table 6.8. So table 6.9 to 6.12 focus on the areas, that is the identification of the nature and the types of information requirement of the user. So number of purposes of information seeking and the types of the needs of the respondents have been distributed. So I can only sum up those tables because if we can say each table, so it will take 2 or 3 minutes. So table 6.9 basically deals with the, I can say in one or two sentences that the table 6.9 is focus on the requirement of the completion of class assignment for the purpose of preparing examination, for the purpose of the writing of research paper, for the purpose of participation in seminar. So these are the areas for the purpose of keeping in touch with the current developments. These are the areas that have been covered in the table 6.9 to 6.2. That is the nature and the information requirement of the users had been depicted. Now, if we consider the table 6.13 to 6.21, you can see that in regard to the requirement of the print documents from the library, it is seen that the highest percentage of the respondents both in UG and PG beyond level require textbooks and reference books. Always the highest percentage of the respondents both in UG and PG level, they never required laboratory manuals and seminar proceedings. So these are the areas where I had been prepared the table, that is the information use of the requirement of the textbook, information requirement of the reference book, information requirement of the theses and medical journals, information requirement of the standard books, information requirement of the newsletter. So these are the areas where I focus the table 6.13 to table 6.21, and you can see the number of respondents, the percentage of respondents here, which I will not discuss. So now, in regard to the requirement of informal and interpersonal sources from the library, what are the areas I have taken here? Social networking sites. I have covered the Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, YouTube, and mass media. That means the information requirement by the users here have been depicted. That means whether the users can access the information from social media, like whether they can use the YouTube, whether they can use the Facebook, whether they can use the WhatsApp, Twitter. So these are the informal or interpersonal sources, or discussion with friends, discussion with librarians. So these are the areas which I covered in the table 6.22 to 6.28. So percentage of respondents here, we can see that both in UG and PG beyond level, they require consulting, social networking site, and mass media sometimes. The highest percentage of the respondent both in UG and PG level never required to visit other institutional libraries. Also, they do not have time for that, because they are busy with the clinics as well as the classes, as well as the research in the evening, afternoon. After that, they are busy with their studies in the hostel. So, and also that for the training courses, both in physical and online mode, the highest percentage of the respondents both in UG and PG beyond level, they require the consulting with the friends always, and with librarians sometimes, and they require information sometimes for the participation in seminar and conferences. So if we consider the table 6.29 to 6.35, we can see that highest percentage of the both respondents in both in UG level and beyond level, they both require e-books, e-journal, library website, open educational resources. And I have seen in this medical institutes, in this library website, or when I had surveyed them, the facilities for the e-access, that means that there are less number of e-books, less number of e-journals, and some of them have the online reference tools, or some of them have done the software entries in the Koha software, or in any proprietary software, but that is not sufficient to meet the demand of the users here. Now, table 6.36 to 6.5 focus on the interpersonal source, like both in UG PG level. Like already I have nature of use of sources. I had already focused on the databases, like whether they can use any database like Web, PubMed, JSTOR. So all these databases have been accessed by the libraries or not. So these are my areas in the table 6.36 to table 6.45, and they use very much WhatsApp, YouTube, SlideShare, and they did not want to use in any database, but they focused on the areas like interlibrary loan facilities here. And then table 6.46 to table 6.55 focus on the areas on the how they can use the printed textbook, past question papers, e-books, laboratory manuals, e-journal, thesis, new arrivals. So past question papers, how they can access those resources from the libraries, how they are getting whether they are getting the sufficient information. So these are the percentage of respondents mentioned here. Then table 6.56 to table 6.5 focus on the various areas like the satisfaction level, whether they can get the requirement of documents from the library. So I can say here that highest percentage of the UG respondents, if we consider the UG level course in B.Ed, they have for BSLP, BPO, or the BPT, they have 4-year duration, 4.5-year duration, and master degree is for 2 years. And after that, they are doing compulsory internship there. So in case of physiotherapy, in case of prosthetic orthotics, in case of occupational therapy. So UG level are basically satisfied with the requirement of the printed books, print journals, magazines, newspaper, past question papers, new arrivals, and they are basically undecided. Basically, they are, I can say, they are basically very much unaware that in deciding the factor e-books, because they did not want to yeah, they did not want to consult these areas. And if we consider the PGBN level, they are very much satisfied with the requirement of printed books, e-books, sometimes print journals, but they were unhappy with the requirement of the laboratory manuals, and sometimes they focus on the areas of interlibrary loan facilities or the document delivery service or the online current awareness services here. Now, table 6.66 to table 6.71 focus on the infrastructural facilities provided by the libraries. That is the requirement of good functional furniture, appropriate lighting, clean washroom, good ICT space for networking, quiet and calm space. Say whether the libraries can follow the safety and security measures. So these are the areas have been covered in the table 6.6 to table 6.71, and table 6.72 to 6.8 in focus on the areas that is the basically the current services provided by the any libraries or these medical institutes libraries. That I can say that is the lending services, reference services, internet facilities of the services, current awareness service, opening and closing hours of the libraries, services for the persons with disabilities, duration for the internet access, and abstracting service, OPEC facilities, web OPEC facilities, display facilities for new arrivals, resource sharing, document delivery service, and the inclusion of sufficient information in the library website. So these are the areas I had covered in the table 6.72 to 6.86, and these are my major findings. That you can see that in Manuti U-test at 0.05 level of significance, it is seen that in regard to the frequency of use of print and e-documents in the library, there is a difference between male and female respondents, both in UG level and PGBN level. And in chi-square test at 0.05 level of significance, for all the print and electronic documents in the library, the satisfaction level of the total UG and PG level respondents were similar, excepting books and e-books. As we can understand, the PG level and beyond level, they are basically focusing on the e-books. They basically need the current and up-to-date knowledge in their respective field. And for the infrastructural facilities, the satisfaction level of the total UG-PG level respondents were similar, excepting functional furniture as well as the ICT space for networking. So, above all, the services provided by the libraries, it is seen that 0.05 level of significance, the satisfaction level of the total and UG and PG level respondents were very much similar, excepting lending service, reference service, as well as the services for the persons with disabilities. Now I can say my interpretation of my key findings here. The interpretation of key findings, that just I want to say in 2 or 3 sentences. What are my already I had talked about my objectives. So with regard to my first objective, what I have seen that I have seen here that the scenario of the respondents' profiles, the frequency of visit, the time spent at the purpose of using the libraries along with the profiles of the libraries of those institute, nature of functions, collection, availability of infrastructural facilities and services have been depicted in table 6.1 to 6.8 and in chapter 5. And with regard to my second objective, it is found that identification of the nature of types of information requirement of the users, a number of purposes of information seeking, and the types of needs of the respondent have been distributed in the table 6.9 to 6.12. With regard to the third objective, it is found that the nature of requirement and the nature of use of informal as well as the interpersonal sources, the majority of the respondents from the library in the UG level, they are not satisfactory. Rather, the major number of respondents of senior level require those very much. Now, with regard to my fourth objective, it is found that while assessing the frequency of use of print as well as the electronic documents by the respondents of both category, the majority of the respondents use the print documents more. That means the print documents are very much used by the users of those libraries. And my fifth objective, that is a last objective, that is found that it is found here that majority of the most respondents of both levels are very much not satisfied with the e-documents, rather satisfied with the infrastructural facilities, but in regard to the services satisfaction with the provided by the library, majority of the respondents in UG level were satisfied, but PG level and beyond level were not satisfied. So basically, from testing result, it is revealed that first hypothesis, man-Whitney U-test was used through the man-Whitney U-test at 0.05 level significance. It is seen that there is no significant difference between respondents in graduation and beyond graduation level with regard to their information use of print and electronic documents in the library. And for the second hypothesis, through chi-square test, it is seen that at 0.05 level of significance, excepting a few cases, there lies satisfaction with the requirement of library documents, infrastructure and services, and there is a similarity in nature between the two levels of respondents for finding information. So now I will conclude by saying that basically the data were collected on the respondent for the based on the objectives of the study concerning the purposes of use, purposes of seeking information, requirement of different types of information sources of information consultant, meeting the information need through the formal and documentary sources, informal and interpersonal sources, as well as the use of networking, social networking site, frequency of use of information sources, satisfaction level with the requirement of different collection, infrastructural facilities, and the services provided by the libraries, and the objective suggestions given by the user. So in all those institutes, a number of medical and paramedical courses like physiotherapy, prosthetic orthotics, occupational therapy, hearing, rehabilitation and psychology, diploma in sign language interpretation. So it has been continuing as a part of teaching learning program in different level of standards for UG level to PG to MPhil to PhD level. So basically, to achieve the desired result in the examination and to achieve the best performance. So for the different level people, we have to cater to the students group as well as the teacher as well as the medical practitioners. They are very much dependent on the libraries of their respective institutes. So there is a need for reading materials either in a printed form or in a non-printed form for their educational purpose, for their recreational purpose, for their research purpose. So we have the libraries for the treatment purpose. What is main point here? So the libraries can act as a focal point or the focal centers or the DAF centers of the institutes to provide the requisite information of the documents to the users of the library. So these institutes are considered as active center to help the functioning of the hospital-centric service or the treatment-centric services, and they are also part of the empowering the user. That means the teachers, research scholar, medical practitioners to get the right direction during their teaching learning process. So this I have covered some suggestions here. That is that there is a need for longer hour of library service, especially after 5 p.m. So basically, they said that the timing should be extended and more skilled library personnel should be recruited because the sometimes one or two staffs are maintaining these libraries. Another one is a need for library websites, so there is a communication gap. So all the information should be accommodated there, like library rules, regular information of the library, open educational resources in this field, institutional repository, So that should be created by the library to attract more users. There is a need for mint documents in the library because we know this medical books are very high cost in nature, so procurement of the printed document should be done in the library. So the ministry should look for more, give more fund to this library. Number four is there is a need for more electronic resources, and the library should take initiative to attract the graduation level users about the e-resources. Consortiums to be should be created among the those medical institutes so that they can get the interlibrary loan. So I had given a model here, and there are four coordinators, and one will be act as a central coordinator. One will look for the books, one will look for the e-books, one will look for the e-books, books, journals, and e-books and e-journals. So there are four sub coordinators, and one coordinator will look from the for the center. So that is the need of the consortia. All the faculty members, they focused on this consortia approaches, because they said that sometimes it is difficult to procure all the current journals related to their field. So a consortium should be created to get more electronic resources to avoid unnecessary financial burden. So if the consortium is introduced, there is a need for well-defined policy to maintain that consortium. So now there are ample scope for the further research based on the existing research work, and the few examples are I have given here. One is the users need in the libraries of the central government institutes and the different state government institute working for the empowerment of PWD's study. Users need in the libraries of central government institutes working for the empowerment of general patients. A study, a comparative study between any academic community and professional community of any discipline in regard to the information seeking behavior. Assessment of libraries of higher learning institutes, and the mapping the users need in the libraries of central government institutes working for the well-being of the common people. So thank you very much. Now if you have any question regarding my presentation or any suggestion, you are feel free to ask me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Chakrabarti, for delivering your very beautiful speech on users' need in the libraries of central government institutes working for the empowerment of differently able persons study. Now, before concluding, I would like to ask the audience, is there any questions? Any comments or suggestions? Atanudar's hand raised, please. Atanudar, what is your question?
Thank you, madam. I have one question for Kaushik, that you have made some statistical calculation and you have tested the hypothesis, right?
Yes.
So my question is whether you have calculated the statistical errors or not.
Uh, Last.
You know now what is statistical errors?
Not exactly.
Okay, actually, I am telling you what is the statistical error. Suppose the statistical errors when we are going to make the hypothesis testing with the statistical data, and sometime it is found that the we rejected the hypothesis, but it is found that it is a true. So this is called statistical error. There are two type of error. One is type 1 error and another is type 2 error. So I think when you are gathering so much data and you are making the such a huge calculation of making the various statistical tools, with the help of various statistical tools you make the hypothesis testing and you have so much hypothesis. So it's my request to you that you should make some statistical error calculation also. Right? It's my
Okay,
suggestion to you all.
okay, sir.
Nothing else. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Any other? Any suggestions? I hope there is no more questions left. Now, I would try to conclude this enlightening and deeply impactful study circle. From the discussion of the study circle, we underscored the importance of our collective efforts to empower differently abled persons by addressing their unique needs in our library. Uh, Dr. Chakrabarti shared his experience in COVID and pre-COVID period, and he elaborately described the basic needs for the library for these different level persons. And he also highlighted his work with relevance to the social nature, and he mainly emphasized in three factors: information requirement, information users, and satisfaction level of the users of the infrastructural facilities provided by the libraries. And he very elaborately described her findings and conclusion. Uh, I From his discussion, I think there are some key takeaways from his presentation. In my opinion, for the if we want to library users for all the peoples, not only for different label persons or for all, we have to, especially for the different label persons, we have to follow some rules. That is, Dr. Chakrabarti mentioned that accessibility is very key factor, and it should be very comprehensive. It is not just about the physical access but also making digital content and library services. He again and again emphasis on the e-books, e-journals. So I think he is very right that accessibility must be comprehensive so that all the people can access library resources. Secondly, technological integration is the very vital role in this person, not only for ebooks and e-journals. I think they need some speech to text software and other tools that is essential for them. And she he in the conclusion, she discusses about the policy. This is We need a robust policies that support the ongoing efforts of our libraries more inclusive. Really, it is very needed and consortia. Uh, Funding is very vital role. So funding for accessibility projects for central government institutes is very essential. And in my opinion, staff empowerment is also a critical need for ongoing on these persons. And by equipping our library staff with necessary skills and awareness, we can foster the inclusive environment where every user feels supported and valued. Uh, I think this will be very needed for library staff also, so that they can give the valuable service to this type of people. Now, I encourage all of you continue this dialogue beyond today. Share the insights gained here with your colleagues and communities. But remember that this effort is not only for the central government institute libraries, but for all libraries, so that libraries become bastions of inclusivity, accessibility, and knowledge for all. In closing, I extend my deepest appreciation to our speaker, Dr. Kaustuv Chakrabarti, for his insights and comments to this noble cause. Thank you, participants and organizers, for their dedication and hard work in making this study circle a success. Thank you again. Rupali, please you continue the next session.
Thank you, ma'am. Now it's time for vote of thanks. I would like to thanks
Rupali,
all the participants. Sir,
Rupali,
sir. Yes,
sorry
sir.
to interrupt you. We have a declaration, or we have an announcement, I should say. Our next
Yes.
study circle will happen on 31st August, Saturday, 7:30 p.m. And our speaker is very distinguished person. She is Dr. Nikita Lama, presently working as Assistant Professor, Department of Library Information Science, University of Calcutta. So, yeah, that's all. Now over to you, Rupali. Please carry on.
Yes, sir. Firstly, I would like to thank all the participants who joined this session on behalf of Universal Briefing. I would like to thank the Director of Universal Briefing, Dr. Udayan Bhattacharya sir, for giving his eminent support and advice to manage all kind of activities of study circle. I would like to thank the President of the session, Dr. Gayatri Paul, for handling this session so beautifully. I would like to thank Dr. Kaustuv Chakrabarti, speaker of this session, for their valuable introduction and valuable presentation. I would like to um, thank the chairperson and the convener of the study circle, Dr. Atanu Das and Dr. Avik Roy. Last but not least, I would like to thank Subham Das and Abhijit Maskar for their technical assistance. Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Rupali, to you too, for nicely anchoring the session.
Thank you,
So,
sir.
everybody, please have a good time today and have a good night. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.